Welcome back. Good afternoon, Chief Hayden.
Good afternoon.
We're a couple minutes until 3 to wait for this. We've got two cases set at 1:30. I do have the YouTube live feed turned on, and we are recording on the Zoom platform. We have several zoning violation items today from 3 different townships. First one is Sherman Township, and we'll wait 2 minutes to call the case at 1:30.
Your Honor, what's the other 130 case, please?
It's not your township.
Okay.
It's Mendon Township with Joe Hass, and then 2 Leonidas Townships with Lance Thornton. Lance does several townships here. I think Joe just does Mendon, and I think your firm has the bulk of the rest of them.
Right, no, that's right. When you said 4, I wasn't sure if that was me or somebody else, so thank you.
No, I didn't want to give you a panic attack. It's like, wait a minute, Roxanne told me I only had 1 case.
Yeah. Yeah, I just texted her. I was like, hey, there's 4 cases up this afternoon.
Let's see who we're speaking with here. Good afternoon. This is Judge Middleton. Who am I speaking with?
John Burlingame.
All right, Mr. Burlingame, you're in the right spot. Let me give you a name. Do you have the ability to do video?
I got a low reception out here. I can try. I don't know how good it'll be.
One of the reasons I ask is I think the township is probably going to be showing some pictures, and you won't be able to see them if you're connected just by telephone.
Okay. Oh, it don't let me cut right into video.
All right, for now, I'm just going to put you in the waiting room. It'll be a few minutes. We're going to take up another case first. Yeah, there's some very telling pictures in that case. I'm trying to think. Lance Thornton does White Pigeon Township. I think he does Montville. I know you guys do Montville. Joe does Mendon. And I think that may be it. I used to call this Groundhog Day because every day was like the last one, but we have had some variation in the nature of our complaints. Well, let's call this case, it is 130. This is file 202748. It's entitled Sherman Township versus Sandra Schwartz. This is an address at 27083 North Shore Drive. Mike Hayden, who is the zoning enforcement officer for Sherman Township, is present. We'll swear him in just a moment. Also present is Mr. Seth Coaches on behalf
Your Honor, I don't do Sherman Township.
What's that?
I'm here from Mendon Township.
Oh, well, I don't.
I think it's
Chris Hamilton. Chris Hamilton is this one,
Hamilton.
sure.
Yeah.
She's not here yet. I do have a question while we're waiting. The ticket, civil infraction ticket in this case, alleges occupancy of a new house without occupancy permit. Fees accessed at compliance ordinance. Check nuisance and zoning ordinance. So the original ticket issued 11/5 of 2020 is for occupancy of a new house without an occupancy permit. Then the compliance order that entered had to do with removal of junk. The Fenner licensed contractor, oh, there it is. No, there it is. Maybe I clicked on the wrong order.
Yeah, I'm looking at an order dated May 24th.
No, I must have clicked on the wrong order. This has to do with occupancy of a house.
Right.
All right. Still no Chris Hamilton. Good afternoon, Mr. Hass.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm sorry I'm a little late. I had the wrong ID number written off for some reason.
Well, thank you for being here. You're only 1 minute late, so we're struggling. We were going to start another case, but we're missing a witness, and that's Mr. Coach's case from the Sieber Law Firm, and I think it's going to be a default. So I don't expect it'll take very long, but I can't proceed without the witness. Your defendant is here and your witness is here. I'm going to give Seth a minute to see if he can find Ms. Hamilton. Otherwise, we'll bring Mr. Burlingame in. I do have a concern. Mr. Burlingame is here only by telephone. Here's Chris Hamilton. Good afternoon. Can you hear us?
I can.
All right, thank you. We've been waiting for you.
I'm sorry.
We called the case, we're ready to start, and then I realized we didn't have a witness. Mike Hayden was willing to step in, but since he said he didn't know anything about it, he didn't want to testify under oath. All right.
Okay, this is for Sandra Schwartz, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
This, I'll call it once again. We'll start from scratch. Let me just stop this and restart it. This is file 202748ON. It's entitled Sherman Township versus Sandra Schwartz. Mr. Seth Coaches is here on behalf of the township. Their zoning enforcement officer, Chris Hamilton, is also present. Just a little late. The defendant is not present. This was a citation that was issued in 2020 for unauthorized occupancy of a residence. A zoning enforcement compliance order issued I guess it's easier to just look at it.
It was issued on 11/5/20.
It was issued on May 24th of 21. The ticket, oh, there was an amended order requiring compliance. That's the most recent one.
Okay.
Matter was set for hearing today. Ms. Hamilton, would you please raise your right hand? State your name for the record.
Chris Hamilton, zoning administrator, Sherman Township.
You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do.
Mr. Coaches, what's the status here?
Sure, it's my understanding that 27083 North Shore Drive still does not have a certificate. It still remains under construction, and a certificate of occupancy has not been obtained. Additionally, it's my understanding that the defendant continues to dwell there. Ms. Peterson, is that correct?
Hamilton, if that's me, yes. Yes, she is residing there, and she does not have finals on any trade permits or an occupancy permit from the building.
And when's the last time you recently inspected this property?
9/19 was a footing for her deck. 9/19/19 was a footing for the deck. No inspections on plumbing. No inspections on mechanical. And only a service inspection in 2019 on electric. So she's had no inspections. And when I was out there to prompt her to get.
Just a second. You didn't answer the question. When did you last visit the property?
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. Not since 2019.
Well, when did you last go out there to confirm that she's still living in there?
I was there on 11/5/20 and 7/28/21. No, that's today. So I was there on 11/5/20, and I go by there frequently every day. Not every day, but once a week.
All right. So have you actually been to there and realized that someone is still living there?
Yes. When I was there, I actually spoke to her, and she said she didn't have the money to finish it.
I mean, as not last November, as of July 28th of 21, do you have sworn evidence that someone is residing in the house?
Today is July 28th. So yes, this month I have evidence that she's still living in the house. I have been there.
Okay. Well, good. All right. Tell me about that.
Her car is there. She's there. I knocked on the door. Nobody answers, but she's there and living there and has not obtained any permits to finish out what she has.
There are no pictures attached to this file that I could see. What level of completion is the house?
I thought Roxanne forwarded those pictures to you because I got pictures from her that show that the house is only, the house is not finished. She put a foundation for a garage. Garage wasn't added on, so the exterior of the house on the east side has siding not on it. The eave is not on for the house itself. And when I talked to her about staying there and said that she can't live there, she said she has no place else to go. This was prior to this month. And she didn't have any heat source. The plumbing hasn't been inspected. The electric hasn't been inspected. And the building hasn't been inspected. So the exterior has siding missing on it, so it's open to the elements. And the interior doesn't have any inspections on it.
All right. Mr. Coaches, what are you asking for?
Sure, at this point, we'd be asking for an order enforcing ordinance which shall indicate that defendant shall not reside at the subject property without a certificate of occupancy. Violation of such order should be subject the defendant to contempt of court upon a motion of the township. I'm also wondering if the court would entertain a daily fine if she continues to live on this property.
I don't know what that will accomplish. Contempt includes incarceration. The night in jail would give her someplace to stay, finding her each day. And I guess I'll have to have some sympathy. She hasn't got anywhere else to go, but she isn't here. This is a recipe for a fire or something else. And we've been through this circumstance many times. How much time do you want? 7 days or immediate order?
Because she's indicated she doesn't have a place to go, I mean, 7 days, I think, would be sufficient amount of time for her to arrange different living accommodations.
All right.
She stated to me that, Chris, we don't have to worry about it because it's not winter, but she stated to me that she was using space heaters for heating the home.
Well, Mr. Hayden provided me with some pictures for the next case where there's space heaters next to trash and clothing and you just can't do it. You can't just throw up some wood and put a roof on it and call it a house, not in this day and age, and you can't live there without proper inspections. There's a reason for it. Certainly electrical, plumbing, mechanical. People decry how cumbersome it can be sometimes to get all the proper permits to construct something, or even worse, to reconstruct something. But there's a reason for it, and it's public safety and structural integrity of the property, and everything goes with it. You can't just do it because you say you don't have any money. This has been also going on for more than a year. So you may have the order. She'll be in contempt. She's at 7 days to vacate or subject to a contempt petition.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'll submit that under the 7-day rule and have that sent down to your court.
Thank you. You're welcome to get in on any of these next 3 cases if you'd like. Mr. Hass and Mr. Thornton may cherish your advice, but you probably have other things you wish to do. We're going to move on with our next couple of cases. You're off the hook, Seth. You're good to go. Chris, you're good to go as well.
Thank you.
We'll bring in our next case.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. He looked at me like a deer in the headlights. I think he thought I was want to have him stick around. Mr. Burlingame, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. This is Judge Middleton here at the court in Centerville. I'm going to stop the record, start it. This is People versus John J. Burlingame Jr. It's entitled Mendon Township versus John Burlingame. Mr. Joe Hass is here on behalf of Mendon Township. Their zoning enforcement officer, Mike Hayden, is present also. You are here by telephone. I'm advising you we are live on YouTube and we're on the Zoom platform, and this is being recorded.
Yes, sir.
This is an order to show cause for violation of a compliance order. There are actually two files, 741 and 742, involves property at 2773 M60. There was a consent order entered in April, and the plaintiff is alleging that you are not presently in compliance with that consent order. Mr. Hayden, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. Mr. Burlingame, will you raise yours as well, wherever you are?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
I do.
All right, they both acknowledge in the affirmative. Mr. Hass, what's the circumstance here? Joe, you're on mute.
Sorry about that, Your Honor. So the first thing I wanted to clarify, Your Honor, is how you wanted to perceive this. As you indicated, there are two files here. They both involve the same property. Do you want to handle each file separately at a time, or do you want me to address both at the same time?
Why don't you just both at once? The photographs seem to apply.
And they're related, certainly, Your Honor. So as Your Honor indicated, there was a consent order issued on both matters that Mr. Burlingame agreed to bring the property into compliance. In regards to the issue of the unauthorized vehicles, unauthorized, unlicensed vehicles, as well as the blight that was on the property, the township actually worked a schedule with Mr. Burlingame to give him plenty of time to bring the property into compliance, and understanding that it was going to take, considering how the property and the condition of the property was, it was going to take a considerable amount of time. So they worked out a schedule with him that allowed him to clean up certain segments of the property in 30-day increments. Additionally, Mr. Burlingame was authorizing people to live on his property in various campers and mobile homes that were on the property that were simply unsafe and had been deemed by the health department as unsafe to occupy. He agreed that he would immediately remove those individuals and not allow anybody to occupy any of those campers in the property. And the township agreed that if he complied with the order, it would waive the fines that had been issued under the two citations that have been issued. Unfortunately, there's been little progress made there. Mr. Burlingame did remove some items, it appears, but he simply replaced it with new junk and unauthorized vehicles. He continues to allow the occupants to live in the unauthorized and unsafe housing. What they did is, it appeared, they simply removed the placard that had been placed on the property by the health department to remove that designated them as unsafe for occupancy, yet they're still living there. And so the township is here, Your Honor, simply asking that it be allowed to go in and itself, due to Mr. Burlingame's failure to bring the property into compliance pursuant to the earlier order, allow the township to go in there to bring the property into compliance, that it made clear that Mr. Burlingame does still owe the fines issued on both citations, and that the township be awarded its attorney's fees and other legal costs that it's had to incur, which Mr. Burlingame agreed in the stipulated order the township would be entitled to for having to bring today's motion and today's proceeding. And finally, Your Honor, we would ask that we be able to take all those amounts that are owed to the township and treat those as tax on the property so the township can place a lien on that property.
Mr. Hayden, you've heard what Mr. Hass said. When did you most recently inspect this property?
Last time I was out would have been on July 23rd. And I did submit photos to the court. I don't know if they got to you.
They did. Mr. Hass, would you move to admit those photographs taken by
I would
Mr. Hayden?
move, Your Honor, to admit there were six photographs that were taken by Mr. Hayden and as on July 23rd, 2021, and I move the admission of all 6 of those photos.
Mr. Hayden, do you confirm that those were fair and accurate representations of what you saw and photographed?
Yes.
Those will all be admitted as exhibits 1, I guess, A, B, C, D, E, F. I saw what Mr. Hass referred to. There was a new trailer in there that wasn't there before. There were other signs of occupancy and just junk all over the place. Looked like new and different junk. Would you say the condition of the property was improved or deteriorated since the consent order entered?
I would say that as the attorney Haas stated, that There has been progress, but again, he's allowed the subject that's living, well, I'm not sure that he's living. It appears that he's living still in the mobile home or over in one of the campers to bring in more items on the west side of the property.
Well, there was also the issue of the mobile home. There's a camper, then there's a different camper, and then there's the mobile home that wasn't properly cited also. I couldn't tell if that had been knocked down. What's the status of the mobile home?
There were, as I remember, the time of the initial inspection, there were 4 mobile homes on there. I'm sorry, travel trailers, I'll call them. And then 1 mobile or manufactured house, mobile home. The mobile home is still on the property. 1 manufactured trailer, as you can see in the photos, is being torn down. The one that looks like it's new, I believe, I am not 100% sure. I believe it might have been moved forward from the back of the property because there was an issue of a property line dispute between him and a neighbor. But the one that they are still living in is back by the garage, on the east side of the garage. And that's the one they removed the unsafe sticker and still remain.
daughter.
Well, this is on M60.
Hold on, I'm in court.
M60.
Your hair looks good.
Thank you. I can't picture this. Mr. Haas has a differing opinion on that, but anyway, where exactly is this?
Your Honor, trust me, you won't miss it if you actually were to drive by it, but it is on the east side of the village of Mendon, prior to reaching where M66 heads south. So it's along the river. And so if you can picture as you're traveling east on M60 out of the village, I think and Mr. Hayden, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the 3rd home prior to reaching M66.
I believe so, yes. There are 2 properties east of it. One, the lane goes actually back behind this property, and then there's another neighbor east of that.
Some of those houses in that stretch look very small from the highway, but if you see them from the river, they're huge. There's a little bit up at the top of the hill. So obviously I've driven past this probably hundreds of times, but I can't quite picture it in my mind. At any rate, Mr. Burlingame,
Yes, sir.
my biggest concern is that there are people living in these trailers without occupancy permit or sort of thing, and that obviously is a safety concern. Some of the pictures that I saw looked like fire hazards, and that was a concern. And I think people in the township probably got sick up and fed with this and said, isn't somebody going to do something about that piece of property? What's your position here?
The people living in the trailer at the east end of my garage, that's my parents. They just got their final permit to be able to get power put in on their land in Leonidas. They're in a transition period, and my mom needs to stay hooked up to power because she runs oxygen and stuff, machines and stuff. So I couldn't just put them out from where they're at. And the other, with the mobile home on the manufactured home on the other end of the property, I'm having him removed as a squatter within the next couple days. My mother's supposed to come help me with that, and her husband is the one who's the controller of the deed of my property as well.
Well, who is that person?
Michael George.
Yeah, he's mentioned in the pleadings.
The
neighbors say
he
he's
used to
burning stuff and generally making a nuisance of himself. So he's living there.
Basically.
He doesn't pay any rent or anything?
No, sir. And he's not supposed to be living here, but yeah, he does stay.
How did he get?
he used to have the property that's behind me right on the river. And when his dad sold the property, he had to get his stuff out, and then he had gotten trouble with the law before his deadline came, and I had all his stuff brought down to my place so he didn't lose it. But it was never supposed to be as much stuff as it was, because he was supposed to be downsizing it before he had went to jail.
Well,
but yeah, I'm going to have him removed as a vagrant within the next, as soon as I get off the phone with you guys, I'm actually supposed to call my mother and get it set up.
that's really not all that easy to do. He's actually a tenant. So
he doesn't pay me a penny.
That doesn't matter. He's been living there for months and months and months, and you can't just grab him by the collar and throw him out in the street.
He stays gone. He stays gone for weeks at a time.
Well, you would have to go through an actual eviction process to get him out of there. Now, you're certainly going to go tell him, hey, you got to get out of here, and you got 10 days to do it.
Okay.
If he does it, fine. If he doesn't, you can't get any legal help. But I can order that he not live there because the place has been placarded as unsafe to live. You tried to do a consent, and I think you're just in over your head. But I have some serious public safety concerns about people living in ancient camper trailers and other things that aren't meant for permanent occupancy. There's no sewer hookup. You can't have 3 or 4 properties with one septic system. Here, there's no adequate water pressure. There's no sewage. The electrical hookups involve electrical cords. The places are filthy on the inside. It's bad all the way around. Mr. Hass, I'm going to grant the order that you request. I'm going to give them some time to do this. You can submit it under 7-day rule. Then once I sign it, they'll have 7 days to be in compliance. I'm going to order everything that Mr. Hass said, including the fact that the fines and costs are due, including the fact that the township is going to put their expenses on your tax roll, and that these people are going to be in contempt of court if they don't vacate. You've got 7 days to submit the order, and then once I sign it, I'm going to give you 7 more days. So that works out to about 14 days. They all have to vacate. And
okay, and if in 14 days,
yes, if they don't, the sheriff can come. This time, if someone takes the placard off of there and they're living there, they're in contempt. I can give them a place to live with 3 square meals a day at the county jail. And this is unsafe on several different levels. And not to mention how unsightly it is for all of your neighbors. I'm more concerned about the safety issues than I am the blight issues, but both exist.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you'll get that order. We'll send it to your address there on M60. If you see a guy slow down driving past your house to eyeball it, it may just be me. But
yes, sir.
All right. Do you have any questions?
In the 14 days or whatever's in your compliance order, is if everything's brought into compliance, what's the next step after that?
Then nothing. You would still owe the fine, but there wouldn't be any cost for further implementation.
Okay, so the two $500 fines.
Yes, I may convert some of that to restitution to the township in attorney fees. I have some discretion, but townships paid a lot of money to accomplish this. So yeah, if you can accomplish this in 14 days, I'm certainly willing to revisit this.
Yes, sir.
might I suggest, Your Honor, and Mr. Burlingame, if in fact you are somehow able to bring this property into compliance in 14 days, you should contact Mr. Hayden right away so that we can confirm that in fact the property has been brought into compliance.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir, you're good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next case is David Burlingame, and I don't know if they're related, but we have similar issues. Mr. Hess, thank you. I'll see you again.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Hayden.
Thank you.
Mike, you're all done. You're not on either of these.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We had a couple of tough cases that we've done at 1:30, and we're pretty much right on schedule. We've got somebody in the conference room, and they gave him the name of Bravo. I'm not sure why. Are you David Burlingame?
Yeah,
All right. Are you related to John Burlingame?
yes, sir.
We just finished a case on him. Lance, are you going to have an enforcement officer here?
Yeah, he's with me, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, on both cases?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, let's start with Miss Harris's case. Mr. Burlingame, I'm gonna leave you in here in the hearing so you can see everything that's going on.
All right.
We're here live on YouTube. We are on the Zoom platform and everything is being recorded. I'm gonna stop the record and restart it, separate the cases. This is the matter of Leonidas Township versus Amber Harris. Are you Amber Harris?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you for logging in a timely manner. Mr. Lance Thornton is here on behalf of Leonidas Township and their zoning enforcement officer. Barry McDonald, is that correct?
That is accurate, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Harris and Mr. McDonald, will you both raise your right hand? You both swear or affirm that any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is a property out on Covey Road, which is officially kind of out in the boondocks in Leonidas Township. It's quite rural. There was a citation issued. Let me pull this up, get my cases straight. Back in 2020, it alleged that there were inoperable motor vehicles and blight. The compliance order was entered on February 19th, directing you to bring the property into compliance within 30 days. The plaintiff has filed for this hearing for today. You had sent a letter, what's the date of that? February 9th. And here we are today. Well, let me also go back to that. Mr. Thornton, you provided an order and then you provided some photographs, 2 photographs. Mr. Burlingame, did you take those photos?
Mr. McDonald.
Mr. McDonald, I'm sorry, and Mr.
Yeah.
Burlingame. And when did you take those?
If we're talking about the ones you received yesterday,
Yes.
they were taken yesterday.
All right, are there fair and accurate photographs of what you saw?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna receive those two exhibits. Mr. Thornton, what's the circumstance here?
Well, as Your Honor pointed out, the citation was issued in 2020. Ms. Harris has had lots of time to bring this property into compliance, and it just hasn't happened. As of yesterday, as the photos indicate, there are still multiple inoperable, unlicensed vehicles and junk on the property. So the township is requesting, after the 21-day appeal period, to have the authority, as indicated in the proposed order, to hire contractors, go in and remove the vehicles and the junk, and all costs to be assessed against the owner and the property by lien and taxes.
Ms. Harris, what do you say to that?
Well, we have all of the metal out that we were able to get out, and the vehicles left here. We are waiting for titles to come in the mail from Secretary of State. The motor home, I had to go through the insurance company to have them give us the paper to be able to get the title to get rid of that. I have all of the paperwork for that, if you'd like to see that, or if you want me to text it into you. I don't know. This is my first time with court.
All right, well, this isn't criminal necessarily, it's civil, but this looks like terrible. They started in February of 2020, and here we are in late July of 2021. And as they indicated, you've had much time to rectify the situation. Mr. McDonald, would you confirm what the representations that Mr. Thornton made on the record regarding the condition of this property?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Harris, how did you come to be the owner of this property?
I bought it.
When was that?
April 2019, 1 week before having a C-section to have my 2-year-old that I have now. And then I was going through college, finishing graduating college. So it's been pretty busy. They've been doing the best they can to get stuff cleaned up. There for a while, we couldn't even get in Secretary of State to get any titles to be able to get vehicles out of here.
Was this junk was on the property when you bought it?
Would you like me to walk? Some of it was.
And then you brought some others out?
Yes.
You started to say, do you want to show me with your camera what it looks like?
Yes, if that's fine for me to do.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I will walk over there right now. This is over here where all of the metal was along this fence row. That's gone. These are the vehicles lined up that have to go to the scrapyard once we get the titles. There's also 2 back there. Yeah, the ORV is ours. I don't know.
All right, is there anything else you want to show me?
I'm just trying to finish the lineup and the ORV sticker. These two are the ones that are taking a little more trouble to get to. They are the inoperable vehicles, but we can't get rid of them until we get titles.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if you have to have a title to crush it.
Yes, you do.
But
We have 9 titles coming in the mail that we just went and paid for at Secretary of State because we were finally able to get in.
Judge Middleton, could I inquire as to what they were told as to how long it would take for those titles to come back?
Can you answer that?
2 weeks.
About 2 weeks in the middle is what they told us. I had to go through the insurance company. What's that called?
Bonded title.
Yeah, for bonded titles.
4 of them.
We have 4 that we're waiting on for that. So everything is in process. We're doing the best we can. We're getting ready to have to dig the other side of the yard for a different claim. It's an electrician claim.
All right, well, you've also, I see junk all over the place. What's that big pile of junk across the way? Looks like a motorhome.
That's the old.
Oh, that. Here, I will.
That's the old burn pit.
Oh,
That'll be getting cleaned up, and that's going to be the last process.
all right. Well, who's the other person that's on the picture there?
I'm her boyfriend, Joshua Swick.
All right, Mr. Swick, don't speak here on the record. We don't know who
Sorry.
you are, not under oath, but you'll certainly be there for moral support.
Your Honor,
Well-
I spoke to Mr. McDonald. He would be willing to, rather than the 21-day period after the entry of the order, we'd be willing to extend that out 45 days to let those titles come back, give them the extra time to remove it themselves, because as the court knows, last thing the township wants to do is hire contractors.
Yes, it goes well, but it's very expensive for the township as an upfront expense that may or may not be recouped at tax later. Ms. Harris, I'm going to grant you 45 days. Now, this happens a lot. People say, well, I haven't had time. They can't do it on their schedule. I've been here 42 years and they wouldn't be done yet. It'd take 42 years for them to clean it up. It's only when we have first the citation, and what often happens is the zoning officer goes out there 5 or 6 times before they even issue the citation. Then they issue the citation, they work with people for a number of months, then a compliance order issues, and they still aren't in compliance. And then they have this hearing where it finally comes to me, and I give people a drop dead date, which here is going to be 45 days from today. You got to get this stuff out of there. I don't care if it has a title or not. You're going to have to remove it. And that other junk on there, this is 2021. You can't keep a property like this anymore in any township here in St. Joe County. Maybe in the old days, people would park junk cars back in the woods somewhere. It's not healthy. It gets into the groundwater. They've got fluids in there, brake fluid, radiator fluid, transmission fluid, gasoline, disintegrating tires. It's a toxic environment. You've probably got a well and you've got all these junk vehicles parked in the ground above your well. So it isn't healthy for you either, or your children. Anyway, you got 45 days to clean it up. The township will submit an order under what's called the 7-day rule.
Your Honor,
Yes?
can you just revise?
Yeah, I got the order now that you mentioned it. Thank you. The other 2, I didn't have one. Lance, I do appreciate your competence. You always send the pictures in advance and you send a proposed order in advance, which is more difficult now that we're doing things virtually. And I forgot. All right, here's what the order is going to state. The property is located at 32599 Covey Road, Colon. The order states, at any time after the expiration of 45 days, the township officials or their agents may enter onto the property and take action necessary to bring the subject property into compliance with the township ordinances, including removing all unlicensed or inoperable vehicles, including recreational vehicles being stored outside, removing all inoperable utility trailers being stored outside, removing any unregistered and or inoperable boats or watercraft being stored outside, and removing all remaining junk, trash, and building materials being stored outside. There's a section in here for cost, which you've got $776. Is that sufficient?
I inquired of Mr. McDonald, and he does not bill the township separately for site inspections. So that second blank would be 0. So the first blank, I would request the court award us the $776 in fees and costs. That's through my time and costs through my office that the township has incurred.
All right, and I will do that. Pay the cost. I'm going to give you 90 days to pay those costs. The aforementioned costs are what?
I have to pay $700?
Yes. The township is spending Leonidas Township taxpayers' money to hire Mr. Thornton and Mr. McDonald to make you clean up all the junk in your yard. And they want you to pay for it. I've waived any additional fine, but you're paying, that's only a portion of what the township has paid. If you took a vote of the people in Leonidas Township and they said, do you think we should pay for this or she should pay for it? I think you know how that vote would come out.
Well, yeah, because there's people right down the road with the same stuff in their yard and nothing is happening to them.
That you know of. I have these cases every day. There's 4 today, and I'm about to do another Leonidas Township case in just a moment.
What do I do with the OR, like our Jeep that has the ORV sticker that can't be outside either?
Well, if it's plated and insured, you can keep it there. If it's inoperable, they can't prohibit you from having it. Same thing with if you've got a boat or trailer, if they're licensed and insured, you can have them on your property. But you can't, if you have a vehicle and it's licensed and insured, you can park it outside. Once the subject property has been brought into compliance with this order, the defendant shall maintain the property so it remains in compliance with all orders entered in this matter. I'm going to send you a copy of this, Ms. Harrison. You can read it at your leisure. You do have 21 days to appeal this if you wish, but my suggestion is you just start 45-day clock ticking to get this stuff out of there. Again, if we left it on your calendar, you got small children, you got financial issues, it would never get done. Now you're under the gun to either do it or the township's going to come in and do it and give you a bill for it.
Okay. Are they going to say anything about the yard being dug up on the other side because we have electricians coming in to put power line from the pole up to the house?
No, you certainly have a right to do that.
Okay.
Well, do you have permits for that?
Yeah, it's all through an insurance claim on the house from a storm last year.
So do you have power in the house right now?
Yes.
Oh, but they're correcting it?
Yeah, it was an overhead line and now they want to put it underneath the ground. So we have to dig underneath the ground and put the conduit down from the house to the power line up by the pole. But it's going to make the side of the yard that is clean look like a mess because it's going to be trenches dug in it while
I think that's just
getting that down.
I think that's just the way it is. I don't think that's going to become an issue.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
About a privacy fence, what's the legalities of being able to have a privacy fence here?
Well, you can have a privacy fence put up. You have to get permits to do it and it has to meet certain specifications. People put up very nice privacy fences. Other people throw up a couple of pallets and turn them sideways and call it a fence. But the township, I would advise you contact Mr. McDonald on what you need to do to.
Well, I was told it could only be 3 foot tall.
I've never heard of such a thing. I think there's
Me neither.
6, there's not a universal standard. Different townships have different standards, but I'm sure that there is a, anyway, I would contact your zoning enforcement people about that. How big is the property?
Almost 2 acres.
Well, I would spend your money on cleaning it up first before you spend the money on fencing in 2 acres, but at some point.
Oh, no,
you could put up a fence as long as it meets township zoning requirements. All right, you'll get a copy of this order in the mail at your address on Covey Road. Okay?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Years ago, very near this property, some kids were having a party. Some guy was out in the ditch. Somebody shot down the ditch and shot a guy. Lance, you probably would have been maybe in high school or so when that happened, many years ago, early 80s. I remember going out there to look at it. Another ancient history story that nobody cares about. But I think this road, unlike the last one we did on M60, Covey Road is really not on the way to anywhere. You gotta want to be there. But at that time I had a reason to be there. All right, Mr. Burlingame, you had an opportunity to hear that case. I'm going to stop the record and restart it. We also did a case with John Burlingame in Mendon Township. This is file 202846, People versus David Burlingame. Is that you, sir?
Yeah.
Once again, Barry McDonald, the inspector for Leonidas Township, is here. This is on Sewanee Trail. We've had a number of cases from that neighborhood over the years. I'm going to ask Mr. McDonald once again to raise his hand, and Mr. Burlingame, will you raise your hand? You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Let me click on this one. Mr. McDonald, they forwarded to me 3 photographs regarding this property, and I'll have you explain what I'm seeing. But are those photographs that you took?
Yes, we took them yesterday, the 27th.
Are they fair and accurate representations of what they saw?
Yes.
They are admitted as evidence?
Yes.
Same thing in this case. Let me click on this one and get my dates right. In this case, a citation was issued on 12, what's the date of it? In December of 2020. Placement of storage unit without principal residence and improper storage of materials. A civil infraction, a compliance order entered on February 19th, directing the defendant to bring the property into compliance. What's the status here, Mr. Thornton?
Basically 3 items of that are an issue for the township. There's a motor coach or motor home on the property. It appears that somebody is living in it. which would be a violation of the township zoning ordinance. There is a truck box, an enclosed truck box that's been detached from the truck and is sitting on the ground and is being used as storage. And then there's a large, very large shipping container. It says Costco on it. That's on the property and needs to be removed because there's no principal residence on the property.
Now, this is 55803 Sewanee Trail. On this property, aren't there other mobile homes and manufactured homes out on this stretch of road?
There is.
Was this part of that old mobile home community?
Yes. Well, it was part of what was called Driftwood.
Mr. Burlingame, where do you live?
Oh, I live over by Leonardo's, probably been up north for about a month and a half.
All right, well, I'm having trouble understanding you. What's your actual address?
I use that mailbox, but I'm not there all the time. I come and go. I've been up north all for about.
All right, well, there's no house on this property?
It's going to be, it's parked there. I just gotta finish putting on my piers and stuff. I have all the building permits, all the septic wells, all that permits.
All right, what kind of residence is that?
It'll be a 56 by 28 manufactured home.
And that is on the property now?
That's on the property, but I gotta finish putting all the stuff in before I place it.
All right, so it hasn't actually been placed on the foundation?
No,
All right, but it's not there, so it's not there yet.
well, it's not on the foundation, but it's on the property.
Okay,
I gotta put it in and get the pictures and stuff before I pull it up on the property or on the piers.
now, in most townships here in St. Joe County, you can't have a storage unit on a parcel of property unless you have a house on it. So for example, if I bought 2 acres out in the woods near where I live and I wanted to put a pole barn on it, my township wouldn't let me do that because there's not a house there. I'm not exactly clear for all the reasons for that, but in most townships, you can't put a storage facility or a pole building or other auxiliary building unless there's a residence on it. So we got several issues. We got this motor coach on the property. Who's living in that?
There ain't nobody living in it.
Is it hooked up to anything?
No,
and no one is living in it.
no,
Is it licensed?
no. It runs and everything.
Now, in the case that preceded these with John Burlingame, he testified that his parents are living with him on a very cluttered parcel of property in Mendon Township, and that they're moving to Leonidas Township once they get permitted. And they're presently living in an unpermitted mobile home, motor home. Are your parents gonna move to this property?
Who?
Your parents?
My parents are dead.
Oh, okay, well, I misunderstood. What's your relationship to John Burlingame?
That'd be my nephew.
Okay. So it would be his parents, I guess. Are you his father's brother?
Yes,
All right. Are they moving to this property?
once we get the house put in.
All right. Well, he was peeing on my leg and telling me that it was raining. That he's going to solve Mendon Township's problem by moving it to Leonidas Township. It doesn't sound like this house is even close to being ready to have somebody reside in it. They're living in a deplorable conditions in Mendon Township and unsafe and no proper sewer hookup, no water pressure, no proper electricity. It's all with extension cords. The place is a mess on the inside. And what he testified to under oath is that they were going to move that motorhome to Leonidas Township. So do you know anything about that?
I don't know what he's gonna do.
All right. So what your intention to do is to have this manufactured home placed on the property, and then your brother is going to move into it?
He's gonna move in with me. He's helping me put it in.
What's his name?
John Burlingame, same as his son.
All right, John Sr. All right, if there is a house on this property, would they be able to have a storage facility? You're on mute, Lance.
Sorry, we were talking. Yes, they could have a storage, and I believe it could be that container
Yes.
if it meets the setbacks requirements once the house is there.
So you can dump a shipping container on your property and use it for storage if it otherwise meets zoning.
Yes, it has to be set in the rear yard. It cannot be on a side lot or front yard. It would have to be placed in the rear. And of course, where the septic is in the well, it cannot be placed on top of any of that either.
Mr. Burlingame, how close are you to having this double wide manufactured home placed on the foundation?
Well, it's gonna take me a while. That's a lot of piers to pour. That's like 32 piers, 42 inches deep and 18 inches around. That's a lot of concrete.
This is very similar to the last case. People are on one time frame and I'm on another, as are the townships. I gave her 42 years. I've got 5.5 years left in this term in office. I don't think I could be here long enough for you to complete this project unless someone's poking you to make you complete it. It doesn't sound like there's any urgency on your part. You'll get around to it when you get around to it. And what happens is nobody ever does get around to it. I don't, and in the meantime, that building is sitting there moldering away. You don't just leave it there unheated, uncooled. But you indicated you have permits, so you've got permits for this?
I have all the permits.
Mr. McDonald, what do you know about that?
He did come in and request a zoning permit. And we could not refuse to issue him one. We did issue him one, and he was, if I remember correctly, he did say he would accomplish this very soon.
To clarify, Mr. McDonald, a permit for the modular home.
Yes, for the modular home to be able to go get the building permit in order to start the process. SDMCCI out of Athens is our building authority, And they will not issue any building permit without a building permit. And
So you've issued that permit. Has any building permit been issued that you know of?
I don't know of it, no.
I have them. I have the
All right.
building permit, well, the building permit's on the property right in front of it. Can't miss it from the road.
So you have it posted there.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. This is, maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel here. Well, what's your game plan? To do this before I retire, or do you have something sooner in mind?
I gotta do it before you retire, because I'm probably older. I have to do it. I don't have much choice.
All right, now we've also got the issue of this unboxed truck.
Okay, now I have a well permit, and I put a well right there, and they set that box over top of the well.
You put a semi truck over the top of the well?
It's just a box. It's just a box up. It's not a truck. It's just a box up. It's the well truck. And it's got a well inside of it.
Well, I don't think there's any crime in.
Using the well or nothing yet, so I get my septic put in, but I have all the permits.
All right. Well, Mr. Thornton, what are you requesting?
Well, I think we need a time frame for him to get the house set or move the storage container, some reasonable time frame. He's already had a long time since the citation was issued, and not much has been accomplished. So I guess
It needs to be either the house set soon or move out all the stuff that's in there, because he's already blighting because it's not a principal residence there.
Well, the citation was issued in December, and so it's not as bad as some that I've seen, but that's still 7 months. And I don't think much has been accomplished in those 7 months. Then there was the compliance order that was issued in April, and nothing's been accomplished since then. Now we hear that they're about to move somebody else's problem to this parcel, and that hasn't happened yet. But he did mention that they were just John Burlingame Jr., that his parents were waiting to get this property completed so they could move there. So there is some urgency, both from Mendon Township's perspective and Leonidas Township's perspective. What have you accomplished regarding this since last December, Mr. Burlingame?
Well, first my brother set the container on me. I didn't, and then I had no way of moving it. And then we finally found the house we could get permission to put in there. That took a while. And now it's on the property. I'm working on doing the piers right now.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, it takes 32 piers, 42 inches deep.
Yeah, when you say you're working on it, when's the last time you actually put a shovel in the ground and poured some cement and rebar to put in the piers?
I haven't poured any cement yet. We got all the stuff, went and bought the auger and stuff to do all the holes. That's coming.
All right, I don't think you've dug one hole. So working on it and thinking about working on it are two different things. So Mr. Thornton was asking for a time frame, and I kind of interrupted you. Your time frame is not very soon. It's summer. It's warm. The ground is not frozen. As soon as we get into December, we run into the same problem every year. Nobody can accomplish anything till almost May, or at least April, and we have a lot of dead time. One option is to just do what they ask for, have the township come remove everything and give you a bill and put it on your taxes. And it will be substantial. It'll be several $1,000s. They'll remove this container. They'll remove the other stuff on the property and leave it bare, and you'll get a bill. And that might make the neighbors happy, but you don't have any sense of urgency to this. That could happen. I could order that right now, and they could just come drag all this stuff out of there and give you a large bill. I'm trying to find some alternate solution. There's not enough housing is the bottom line, not just here in St. Joseph County, but nowhere in the country is there enough adequate affordable housing. So people are doing the best they can, living in substandard housing, which is dangerous. We've had a number of cases here in the county, not all that distant past, 2020, where somebody burned up in an improperly sited RV. Another guy got asphyxiated. Another place burned down while the guy wasn't in it. Doug Coolman, the zoning enforcement officer, was working on that in Montville Township, and the place burned down. So there are safety issues. There are also, you just can't go back to the Wild West and let people put up whatever they want to put up, wherever they want to put it. This neighborhood had traditionally had a lot of zoning violations in it. It's fallen in disrepair over the years, and the township has been working on getting non-compliant properties out of there. So,
as a suggestion, Your Honor, how about a 90-day time period to finish getting the house set, or remove the detached box and shipping container from the property, either or?
Mr. Burlingame, can you live with that? 90 days to get the property sited or remove the items that are not in compliance?
Let me see if I understand. I get 90 days to place the home on the piers, is that what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or move the shipping container and the box.
It's easier for me to move the house onto the piers than it would the container, unless I put the container in the road.
Well, your brother put it there. Tell him to go get it up.
I know he did. That's what brothers do to you.
You're offering a place to live.
He's gonna be my brother no matter what. But he's done worse than that to me in the past. That's what younger brothers.
Well, he's also causing problems for his son.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna give 90 days.
And Your Honor, Mr. McDonald pointed out 90 days should be the deadline to receive an occupancy permit for the home, not just get it pulled over onto a different location.
I'm not sure you could accomplish that. If we get it on there, that'd be sufficient.
There's things I want to do to the home before I occupy it. I would like to put an all brand new roof on it. I just don't like them type of roofs. I'm really planning on putting an all new metal roof on it and stuff.
Yeah, and you're planning on doing that sometime in 2022.
I want to do it before winter time is what I want.
All right, I'm gonna give you 120 days.
I'm not gonna be out there in the cold and snow. That's not happening.
Or obtain occupancy permit. It is ordered that any time after the expiration of 120 days after today's date, the township officials or their agents may enter the property and take actions necessary to bring the property into compliance with the ordinances, including removing the motor coach, motorhome, a large detached truck box, and a very large shipping container, or you obtain an occupancy permit. They're still going to be subject to removing this motor coach or motorhome unless it's licensed and insured. The township has awarded $719 in costs that they've incurred since this. There's zero fees by the inspector. You're going to have 120 days to pay those. The township of Leonidas has paid a lot of money to do this. Now, there's some urgency because your brother is getting removed from where he is in that unsafe, deplorable motorhome that they're in. And the sooner you get this thing up with an occupancy permit, because they're gonna move him out of there. He indicated that his mother is on oxygen. And boy, talk about an unsafe place to be for someone with health issues. I suppose. That's true, but this, I'm not sure. This place looked like a fire waiting to happen. Space heaters with trash and junk around it. Anyway, you got 120 days to get that thing sited, get your roof on it, and get an occupancy permit. Or the township has my permission to come in and do it. Remove everything. So there's some urgency where there was none before. And I guess you can have a big shipping container that says Costco on the side if you have a house on it. Why you'd want something like that in your yard, I don't know, but all right. I do appreciate, Mr. Burlingame, that you took this seriously enough to come up here to the courthouse, and you're there in the conference room. We're not too far away from completely opening things up unless we totally backslide on COVID infections here in St. Joe County, which is a real fear. At any rate, you're taking this seriously. I just want to give you the import that this is serious. The township has been dinking around with this for a year or more. There's some urgency for your brother and his wife to have a place to come to. And it's time for you to stop thinking about doing something and doing something. So you got 120 days to get on the stick. If you go out to the counter, I will give you a copy of this order and you can read it more carefully at your leisure. Do you have any questions?
Well, the more they fine me, the longer it takes. I've already paid a couple fines.
Yeah, well, I'm not so worried about it. I'm more worried about getting the work done than the fine money. I can worry about that later. So you worry about bringing it into compliance before you pay the costs, and we'll deal with that later.
Hopefully by next week, I'm trying to get the piers in by the end of next week. But we're doing it all as I can afford.
All right, well, if you got somebody with a crane that's gonna come lift this thing and put it on the foundation?
I'll put it in there. I have a truck and tractor, just hold it in. Once I get the piers in there.
Okay, all right.
I know farmers around there, if I need anything heavy.
Okay, go out to the counter and I'll give you a copy of the order. Thank you.
Hey, how much is fine you were talking about?
$719, but don't worry about that at this point. You worry about getting the other stuff.
Put me back a month pay there.
No, you worry about doing the other stuff before. We'll worry about the money at a later time.
Okay. I need to talk.
All right. Lance, it brings to mind our other modular home owner that took a chainsaw to it and
Yes.
sawed it off the foundation. He's the
Yeah.
opposite. He's going to drag it onto the foundation, but hopefully that'll work. He must know more about it than I do. But all right, I'll hope for the best here for both the Bendon Township case and this one.
Okay.
All right, we'll close the record. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
All right, well, is it better than being on the street? I don't know, but there's not enough housing and people are struggling. All right, we're gonna end the live feed. That completes our day's court proceedings. We'll be back in the morning with a whole new docket.
What about our PPO?
Oh, yes, we have a PPO hearing.